45 seconds of logos, 10 seconds of hats. Weird. Google Maps tells me that this prison is actually 10 miles north of Bangkok proper. I know we're in movie fantasy land, guys, but is there a need to change simple facts here? I've never been in a prison riot. Not one I am at liberty to discuss anyway. So I'm just going to say that this movie is playing into the stereotype that things falling while on fire is the norm. And if that turns out to be true, it sounds terrifying. And I feel okay with giving prisons a sin for that as well. Since Chow's plan involved cutting through a brick wall in his prison cell, and he ended up here of all places after falling through a ceiling, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that this entire prison break is a bunch of bullshit. I mean, what the f is this building? A ladder that leads up to a sewer? A sewer grate that protrudes this far above the floor in the tunnel? Honestly, could spend about 30 minutes talking about this weird prison and its f***ed up blueprints, but there are likely far more important things left to sin in this movie. Jesus Christ, this giraffe looks faker than the David Schwimmer one in Madagascar. Alan is all like, I don't always drink and drive, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Movie thinks that killing the giraffe using a low clearance overpass is hilarious and not ridiculously horrifying. The 405. According to all the times I've heard this highway referenced in movies, Alan should have been too stuck in traffic to decapitate a giraffe.
Why would you buy a giraffe?
I see no reason why anyone would ever need to ask this question.
Where'd you learn that word?
Words with friends.
What friends, Alan?
I agree that Alan probably shouldn't have any friends, but the last two movies have shown that he's got at least 3 people who are willing to tolerate him. So what does he mean, what friends?
I can think of so many people I would rather have died first. Like my mother.
This is actually one of our protagonists.
There's a whole f***ing giraffe thing.
I thought that was pretty funny. What? Come on, he killed a giraffe. Who gives a f***?
Show me dialogue that tells me a movie is a cash grab without telling me it's a cash grab.
Wow.
Jesus, what are you gonna do with him?
The ensuing conversation lasts 26 seconds, and in that time, Alan has pulled off his undershirt and has somehow acquired a can of Tab. Also Tab.
Who gives a f***?
Bradley Cooper says this enough times in this movie that I'm pretty sure this was the result of a recurring miscommunication during the writing process whenever anyone asked, what should Phil say next?
Oh, come on. He's not that bad. I mean, what's the worst that's happened? The tattoo.
Yeah, the tattoo's the worst.
If you take this long to answer this question and you answer it this way, it's impossible that your wife wouldn't know something else did happen.
Speaking of which, you ever get tested?
Movie's attempt to recognize possible real-world consequences of the Wolfpack's recklessness gets reduced to a Stu got sodomized joke in which no one learns anything.
Nico is a good friend of Alan's.
Mike Vallely is always radical, but he's not being totally radical in this scene.
Timothy lives across the street. He and Alan swim together.
Stu and Phil's reaction is the perfect nonverbal explanation for why I have to add a sin here.
Hey, Timothy. A little cold for a swim, isn't it?
In what world is it too cold for a swim but warm enough for jorts? This noise.
Wanna get some Arby's?
Trying to give someone the meats. The speed at which Phil drives in the left lane of this highway is goddamn infuriating. Hey Phil, instead of struggling alongside the vehicle trying to force you off the road, why not channel your inner Tom Cruise, hit the brakes, and let him fly right by? While I'm glad this movie decided against yet another wild night of drinking leads to debauchery plotline, the movie is called The Hangover Part 3. Instead, this movie is like if Breaking Bad had an identity crisis.
Just Doug, okay?
All comedy aside, saying,
Just Doug, okay?
at the end of the joke doesn't absolve you of the,
Hey, you're Black Doug! That's Black Doug! Why is Black Doug kidnapping us? Thank you, Black Doug.
what is that, 4 times?
Why are you doing this?
Because.
I guess this guy hasn't been in this scene the whole time because it needed a holy shit, it's John Goodman moment.
What up?
Alan survives this.
Damn, Marshall gonna be pissed off at me on that one.
Marshall.
Oh, you, Stu. You don't remember Doug casually referring to Marshall 4 years ago.
You're here because some Chinaman I never heard of strolls into my town
Marshall tells the most offensive story I've ever heard about a man walking.
and takes one of my guys off the street.
The story that Marshall tells makes no sense. At first, he tells these guys that he's upset that Chow kidnapped Doug, one of his drug dealers, which set in motion some events that don't have much to do with each other. Marshall tells them a story about how he stole $42 million worth of gold from a sheik, and Chow robbed one of his vans of half the money. What does this have to do with him kidnapping Doug earlier? Who knows? Then he tells them that he couldn't find Chow anywhere until he got arrested, but wouldn't tell him where the gold was. Marshall finds out that he and Alan were pen pals, and that's why we're here now. Why didn't he just kidnap Alan earlier and get the information he needed before today?
My guys split up.
But only after attracting as much attention as they could with a drag race down an active runway. How did Chow know that one of Marshall's men would be driving down this stretch of road with all that gold? Marshall got word about the gold weeks after the first Hangover movie, so it's not like Chow got that information from Doug. Once again, this has literally nothing to do with why Marshall ran everybody off the road to get to Alan. Also, why didn't Chow use his henchmen to steal this? You telling me he did all this by himself? What if Marshall's men were trigger-happy, cold-blooded murderers?
Leslie Chow stole $21 million from me.
on a Tuesday.
Oh no, not a Tuesday.
Letter after letter of total nonsense, except for one common thread. You guys.
I have no idea why Alan mentioning the wolf pack in his letters has anything to do with Chow's whereabouts.
5 weeks ago, Chow escaped from maximum security detention.
Oh,
He stowed aboard a shipping freighter bound for the West Coast. Where is he?
Jesus, man, you somehow figured out all that shit, but you couldn't figure out where he is now? How the did you even know he got on the shipping container? And the shipping container doesn't just go to a coast, it has a destination. You couldn't figure out the port he went to?
Doug is my insurance. He stays with me.
Meaning we just really hate Justin Bartha being in these movies for more than 5 minutes.
But I figure the wolf pack has the best chance of finding him. You have 3 days.
This time frame is super arbitrary. I know you want them to be motivated, but this is a guy you spent years looking for with all your resources, and you couldn't find him. What does it matter if it's 3 days or a month if you get your goal back? You still have Doug and can always play that card until they find Chow. Stu manages to be the guy that is smart enough to be uncomfortable with abusing his right to prescribe, but somehow not smart enough to tuck his shirt in before entering the pharmacy.
See, that right there, and you're acting all fidgety, plus you look like in our business, these are all red flags.
And yet, Stu ends up getting the drugs with absolutely no problem after this, and nothing all that funny happens for the entire scene. Stu is sweaty. That's the joke.
I need to call a prescribing doctor and make sure everything's okay.
Aha. Well, you're in luck because I actually am the prescribing doctor.
Why didn't they just get Phil to do this? He's the one who's cool under pressure, right? And if the pharmacist had to call the prescribing doctor, Stu could have been outside taking the call and verifying this.
Hey, Dad. I think we got a live one.
I will once again remind that after Stu's terrible acting job with all the red flags, they still give him the drugs and he doesn't lose his dental license.
Tijuana's the bomb.
Oh, no, that's perfect. That's like a 3-hour drive from here.
Why is a 3-hour drive across the border perfect? Like, I could think of a lot better places for Chow to be that would be way more perfect than this. Besides, did you all bring passports? I guess we won't worry about that and any other border crossings that happen in this movie, huh? The movie now plays the Coaster song Down in Mexico, and I am compelled for some reason to send this scene for not having a lap dance. This poster looks less like a cockfight and more like a mythical bird fight. So now I know it's f***ed up, but I'm still kind of interested. Thanks again, advertising.
Where are they?
Around?
Around where?
I don't know.
Are we supposed to believe that Chow can zoom in using his eyeballs and spot Phil while wearing Corey Hart sunglasses?
We love you, Chow.
There wasn't even an in-movie reason for Stu to say it like that.
What the f*** am I watching?
Phil would be amazing at CinemaSins. Stu and the gang are all like, I don't always drug people's drinks, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis.
Basically been killing it down here.
So Chow's been doing all this down in Mexico, and even though Marshall has people looking for him and even knew Chow took a shipping freighter to the West Coast, he couldn't find him here. We also find out Marshall sometimes lives in Tijuana, and he somehow didn't get wind of Chow for 5 weeks. Alan sits down on a thing, and a bunch of roosters come out to peck and claw at the wolf pack because that's hilarious and not a waste of time at all. And it just becomes another reason for the movie to kill animals for laughs. I don't have the time or forensics degree required to work out all the bullet physics involved here, but I'm pretty sure the odds were well enough against this bird stopping this bullet from hitting Stu in the back of the head. Stu and the gang are all like, I don't always watch a man suffocate a chicken with a pillow, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. I've never stabbed a keypad to death before, and I can't find anyone who has either, so I don't know. Maybe this could work. But that doesn't make it any less nonsensical luck-based bullshit. What good is shooting the security camera with red paint if it's already recorded everyone?
I'll do it.
You want to tell him?
Alan, you're just too fat.
There have already been several fat jokes in this movie, so I don't know why they needed another one. He could have simply said, I'm the only one small enough to make it through the door, but hilarity must hilare, or something.
Oh, what the f*** is that?
I'm saying hello. We're dogs, remember?
Listen, asshole, you can be the guy who worries about all the security features of this house, but you can't be the guy who does shit like this that might cause Stu to do something stupid and f*** up the whole plan. Also, finding time for silly shit is kind of the point of these movies, so none of Chow's antics are the least bit surprising, which somehow makes it even more frustrating every time Stu is surprised.
Oh my God, so gross!
The movie says, F it, I'm an episode of Jackass now.
On 3, cut the gray wire.
Disarming a thing by cutting its wires cliche.
My bad, I'm colorblind.
You what?
It, just cut the middle one.
If Chow knows which wire to cut based on what shade of gray it is, why doesn't Stu just go over to Chow's alarm and find out which one it is? And of course, that's exactly what Stu ends up doing, but not before the movie inserts more Chow as annoying humor into our circuits. Chow locks them down inside the cellar, and sure, that's a real dick move, but don't they still have a sledgehammer downstairs? This magical piece of hardware somehow disappears, and no one even mentions it. Sure, they show Chow struggling to carry these 2 bags of gold reportedly worth $21 million out the door, but let's face it, there's no fucking way he'd be able to carry these bags. Each gold bar was heavy enough that each guy struggled to throw just one of them. Now we're supposed to believe he could lift 2 bags full of them to the van outside? As we watch Chow load up the minivan with gold, I realize that the keys have got to be in the ignition so he can drive away. It never ceases to amaze me in movies how the keys to the car that someone needs is always in the ignition and not in someone's pants pocket or something. That tie with this shirt.
Lewd behavior. Cracker Barrel Christmas Eve.
Alan is a dick to Cracker Barrel in a scenario where it sounds like he showed his dick at a Cracker Barrel. Can we please dispense with this convention in movies where the bad guy surprise kills one of his henchmen instead of the main characters to make a point or whatever James Bond bullshit this is?
I left my phone in the minivan.
Well, if you lost your phone, Phil, I have that Find My Phone app.
We have bigger problems than that, Alan.
If your phone's in the minivan, and Chow has the minivan, then your phone's with Chow.
I just don't know how that detail slipped past Phil when Alan brought up the Find My Phone app. Why does Stu always get to be the Sherlock Holmes in these movies?
He's in fucking Vegas.
How did an internationally known criminal Chow get that beat-up minivan with a busted windshield across the border with 2 bags full of fucking gold in them? Does he have a passport? What happens when he shows the registration to a car he doesn't own? Did he use El Chapo's underground tunnels?
Someone needs to burn this place to the ground.
Why? Because Alan roofied all you guys and you all went out of control? What does Vegas have to do with what Alan did to you? This is one of those lines put in the 3rd movie of a franchise where people are supposed to laugh because they remember what happened last time you were here, even though it makes no goddamn sense to blame Vegas for anything that happened.
Chinese guy came in here earlier. It was pretty weird. He pawned a gold brick. The thing's worth 400 grand. He took 18,000.
Later, Phil and Alan take the gold that Chow leaves at Caesar's Palace. So you're telling me he sold 1 gold bar and then ditched the van? Melissa McCarthy then tells them that she gave him a card for an escort service and then he left. Chow leaving the van and telling the gold dealer what he planned to do next is a massive convenience. Also, if Chow sold 1 gold bar and ditched the van, how the was he carrying all that gold everywhere? We saw how hard it was for him to carry the bags earlier, so did he just call a taxi after selling the gold? He put 2 heavy bags of gold in a taxi and told the driver to go to Caesar's. No matter what he did, he's carrying around this gold through Vegas like an asshole, and none of the story adds up.
Some girls, some guys, and some bath salts.
Florida. This lollipop's on for all the surprisingly sensual yet still disturbing amounts of some time. The writer said, let's have him crash into a bunch of musical instruments because I f***ing hate the cello. Well, that's what I assume, considering the only other thing it accomplishes is deflating the scene.
It's an escort service. They're not gonna tell us shit.
Maybe an escort would.
For a minute there, I thought they were going to do the sensible thing and order an actual escort from the service Chow used. But no, they think that Heather Graham, who may or may not be an escort anymore and may or may not have worked for the same service years ago, is the best person to ask.
Still have her number?
Yeah, but it'd be pretty awkward.
It should be, but it's not even a little awkward. They greet each other like old friends. That's it. Why was set up?
Wait, is that the baby?
Stu says what the audience is thinking, even though he was married to this woman ever so briefly and probably should have at least found out the kid's name. Hell, calling him Carlos would have even made more sense.
Is it okay if I go say hello to the little guy?
Of course.
After everything that's happened so far and everything they know about Alan, Phil and Stu leave him alone with a child. To be clear, I'm not saying Alan would harm a child, but he does say weird shit that would make most adults uncomfortable, so maybe some supervision in this situation would be wise. The movie comes to a complete standstill so that Alan can have a moment with the kid who was a baby in the first movie.
She says there's this crazy Chinese guy, and he's holed up in the penthouse suite of Caesar's Palace.
It is way too easy for Jade to find someone who knows where Chow is.
I'll text you the details. Be there at 6 a.m.
Holy shit, that's early. 6 a.m.? Who the f*** is up at 6 a.m.? Who isn't a f***ing vampire?
We were hoping that you and your guys could go to Caesar's and get him.
I don't give a what you were hoping.
God damn it, why are bad guys so bad at bad guying in these movies? Marshall is told exactly where Chow is, but because of something dick measuring, he decides, I told you to bring him to me, and thinks that's the best way to go about this. Also, Marshall believes these guys can pull this off, even though he has been watching them f*** up over and over again throughout the course of this movie.
You need a key just to get onto his floor, and then once you're there, he's got security posted at the door.
Wait a minute, did Phil actually get a key to access Chow's floor and see all the security posted outside, or did some asshole at Caesar's tell him all this?
Are you sure about this?
Give me the Demerol.
Listen, kids, if anyone ever answers the question, are you sure about this, with give me the Demerol, you get the f*** out of there immediately.
We're gonna climb down, and then it's about an 8-foot drop to the balcony.
I know they just grabbed a random pile of sheets to make this rope, and it could have gone either way, being too short or too long. So we got very lucky considering how much comedy relied upon this rope being conveniently too short.
You get it?
Influencers.
Alan! It's your turn.
Phil actually came up with a plan expecting Alan to be capable, mentally and physically, of climbing down this precarious laundry rope. Scene does not include a flashing light warning. Also, I don't believe that all the lights in the penthouse have a strobe feature, and if they do, that feature deserves a sin. Out of all the over-candling going on in this room, what the is going on with these candles that appear to be laid out on the floor like a trap? Is there some kind of fetish where you intentionally set the foot of the bed on fire? Chow survives this base-jumping stunt despite wearing something that looks less like a parachute and more like a backpack. It doesn't have any of the chest and crotch parts of this harness that are usually necessary for proper parachute functioning.
That's Chow!
What? Follow him.
Good luck with that Las Vegas strip traffic, Stu. I'm sure at this time of night, though, you'll barely run into any problems. Vegas is really more of a day city when you think about it. Amazingly, Stu is able to run a red light in a limo on Las Vegas Boulevard and hits a perfect spot where the traffic clears out just enough for him to make it without crashing. Todd Phillips plays a creepy bastard in his own movie cliche. Okay, follow this limo's trajectory for a second. We're supposed to believe Stu can swerve this car through some of the open spaces in traffic, but when he gets here, he's got no other option but to crash. But due to editing, Stu makes it through the stopped traffic as if he's riding a motorcycle. This asshole Chow took the gold out of the fucking bags and just stacked it on a table. The story of this gold from the moment the Sheik made a deal with Marshall to Chow stealing it to this point in time makes so little sense it almost makes sense. Wait.
I'm just a dentist!
No, Stu, you're a fucking doctor. Now go get him.
Thinking confidence is more powerful than traffic. Wow, they're actually doing this. Chow's just gonna land right on Stu's limo. Huh. Okay, well, problem solved. Tom and Jerry's limo scene was more believable than this.
The pedal is stuck!
Are we really to believe that this dropped phone slid forward under the pedal and then flipped up onto its side like this? Of course not. Phone physics dictates that it slides face down to obtain the maximum number of scratches, then flip completely over so that when the brake pedal impacts it, the screen is fully obliterated. This car makes this turn to confirm that none of these characters will face any consequences by way of law, physics, or deity. This uninventive name.
He's not moving.
During Stu's entire reckless drive, eventually hitting a fire hydrant and throwing Chow off the car to his potential death, absolutely not one cop or security guard bothered to make an appearance.
All right, so next exit, then 4 miles straight into the desert.
Why? Why does Marshall make them go through all this? I know it's Vegas movie tradition to go all the way out to the desert to do shady shit, but this doesn't seem necessary.
That's the exit.
This isn't an exit so much as it is just a turn off onto a dirt road. I feel like it's this lack of attention to detail that gets them into these situations. Oh shit, is Chow about to go to sleep too? It's weird when characters get bored with their own movie.
You're not good for me. It's not healthy.
So now we're supposed to see that Alan was changed by this experience, even though we have been shown little to no evidence of this on screen, outside of that time he got a boner in a pawn shop. Did we really need to drag the Beatles into this?
You can go ahead without me. There's something I need to do.
Do you even know how to get home?
What would be the harm in staying for 10 more minutes to see if Alan successfully asks Cassie out on a date? What if he f***s it up, which he nearly does?
I took Mom there for her birthday, played a little blackjack. She split tens.
Oh.
I may have overreacted.
Yeah, you probably did, because have you ever read the book Bringing Down the House that they turned into the movie 21? Sometimes, if you count your cards right, splitting tens can be an intriguing and profitable gamble. I mean, it's a dick move, and an amateur shouldn't do it, but that's besides the point. How did you know your mom wasn't a blackjack shark?
They said it was abuse of an elderly.
I've done that.
Remember, this movie started with the gang taking him to a mental health facility, and if it wasn't for that bullshit with John Goodman, that's where he would have ended up. But now, because he's been through one more adventure, told Chow off, and met a woman, it's all good. He's just good now. Also, I'm pretty sure we're watching how two people come together to birth a war criminal. This movie is refusing to end, ending with a half-minute slow-mo walking montage instead of any of the previously successful emotional beats. It takes 1 hour and 35 minutes and a credits sequence for the movie to Hangover. Also, it looks like yet another giraffe got killed, even though this one is a plush toy. Would this be called aft-shadowing? Stu somehow got perfect implants overnight with no surgery scars and no bandages to remove. Also, thinking that putting on Ed Helms would distract us from what this mid-credits sequence really is, a threat to make the Hangover Resurrections.
I have a phobia of wolves.
Let's ask her. Maybe she knows. What say you there, fussy britches? Feel like talking?
Stop running!
Let us die! You are my 40-year-old son.
42. I'm 42.
42-year-old son who still lives at home.
It's arrested development.
You're here because some Chinaman I never heard of strolls into my town.
Also, dude, Chinaman is not the preferred nomenclature. Asian American, please.
Chinese guy came in here earlier.
There was this one time, you guys, you missed each other by like 3 minutes. It was so exciting.
We're gonna climb down, and then it's about an 8-foot drop to the balcony.
And you really think we can do this?
We're going to do it.
Now get down from there before you die.
What is dead may never die.
For your loyalty.
Oh, is this gold?
Yeah, it's gold.
Damn, this is heavy.
I must resign from the Wolfpack.
You think you could steal from us and just walk away?
Yeah.